Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the News Today edition of 18th of August, where we try and make all important news for the day in the most simplest format for you guys to understand. So let's look at the important news for today. First, a parliamentary committee has highlighted issues in India's water management. Then, Stanford scientists have created password protected mind reading brain computer interface. The Global Plastics Treaty at Geneva has ended without a deal. There has been a nationwide rollout of ethanol 20, which has raised concerns among consumers. And lastly, scientists has reconstruct 12,000 years of Atlantic meridional overturning circulation. We are also going to discuss place in news, that is Algeria, along with quick updates for the day. So the very first news, again, nowadays parliamentary committee has been giving reports on different matters. So recently a parliamentary committee has given a report on India's water management, that again how effectively we are managing water, again, which is a very important source, all of you know, resource. So again, they have told that again, in spite of a lot of investment what we have done with respect to managing water, the results are not expected as expected, right? That is the main idea, and they have been telling that what are the key issues and what they are recommending in terms of how we are going to manage water in a better manner going forward from here, right? So again, it can be interlinked to GS paper number 1, that is your geography, and as well as environment and disaster management issue. So let's discuss one by one. So if you look like themes and recommendations, right? So this is a way you are going to study in terms of recommendations which are given by these parliamentary committees, of course, which are government backed, and again that could be your probable solutions in certain questions of your answers, right? Again, let's say we are discussing about water management as an issue, and again there are various subtopics mentioned over here, right? So that can be interlinked, and again these recommendations what we have given you can use in your answer writing as a form of solution to the problem discussed here. So what exactly this parliamentary committee has recommended? So number one, they have talked about flood forecasting and modernizing it. What is flood forecasting? All of you know that again, yes, that again with floods incidences rising, right? So there are different ways in which we can predict that again in which area at what point of time flood can happen, right? So this is basically called as flood forecasting. So again, the Central Water Commission is operating approximately 342 flood forecasting websites as of now, and that we have been planning to expand it and to increase it by let's say 375 by 2026. That has been the target. But what is the catch over here? What exactly the committee has recommended? The committee has told that again with climate change happening, the nature of the floods have been changing, right? So we need to adapt to that changing climate change factor as well in the flood forecasting method. That has been the idea what has been discussed by this committee. Secondly, we have interlinking of river programs. Again, interlinking of rivers, you all of me know, very important in terms of water management, conservation, better use. So water is which subject? Water is a state subject. It means what? The state government can make a law on that particular matter, and that has been the major concern in terms of why there are a lot of hesitations in terms of implementation of this interlinking of rivers, right? So that has been the major concern what has been highlighted, that again 30 interlinked projects have been identified, and again but they have not been implemented. Why? Because a lack of consensus between the states. What they have recommended, they have told that again the states need to be made aware of the benefit of this interlinking of rivers, and again any kind of a dispute has to be resolved, so that again the broader cause of water management does not get overshadowed with this conflict. That is as simple as that. Then we have dam safety. Again, all of you know about dams, right? So with respect to dam safety, in India specifically, there are approximately 6,000 dams. What are these dams? Basically, dams are one, of course, where again water conservation is there, and again a lot of projects are happening over there. But every dam has to make sure that again it has an emergency action plan. What exactly is this emergency action plan? That in case of any of catastrophe or any kind of incident happening in that around area, what will be the process and how we are going to deal with it, right? So in terms of evacuation of that area, in terms of people management, in terms of who will be responsible, what kind of a role, all of this has to be made sure in that particular plan. So we have approximately 6,000 dams, but again we have only 459 emergency action plans. There was an act in the name of Dam Safety Act of 2021, which has mandated that in the next 5 years from the act, that is 2021, next 5 years is 2000 till 26, we need to make sure that every dam in India has what we call as emergency action plan. So again, that has not been done because we have only 459. So that their committee has recommended that in with respect to the National Dam Safety Authority, it should be constantly engaging and making sure that again every dam has this particular plan. Then in terms of rainwater harvesting and water conservation, because again water is basically a element where again it naturally recycles itself. We have learned about in water cycling, maybe probably in a class 6 or 7, right? So that is how. So in terms of water conservation, there have been a lot of efforts in terms of how we are going to improve the groundwater which is getting depleted, right? So we have Jal Shakti Abhiyan, that is catch the rain. So many times this is a seasonal program where again we have been in the monsoon season where again there is a rainfall has been going on, and again in this area high time that again we can conserve extra amount of water, right? So that is basically what we call as Jal Shakti Abhiyan, catch the rain. Then we have Jal Sanchay Jan Bhagidari, that is a community effort where again how community can be engaged in terms of conservation of water. So again both of these programs have helped out in a tremendous manner in terms of groundwater recharge. The data is showing over there, and that is where the committee has recommended here that again more financial grants have to be given to that particular program in terms of how we are going to conserve water by rainwater harvesting techniques. Then lastly, we have proactive integrated approach. Here, what they have told that again we need to have a national draft water policy, right? We have it as of now, but the committee has recommended that water of course does not see any political boundary or in fact any international boundary, right? So in terms of that, what they have told that again cross border flooding management system has to be done, wherein Ministry of External Affairs can come together and again they can have independent initiative, right, by Ministry of Jal Shakti with Ministry of External Affairs. And then we have, maybe we can include, let's say, our MPs and MLAs in terms of more community driven water management techniques. So these are the few recommendations which have been given by this parliamentary committee, right? Very important. Why? Because again all of the problems may come in a form of a question in an examination. I'll show you one question which has been asked in the year 2020. Again, a topic of interlinking of rivers. The committee has recommended on that particular aspect as well. The interlinking of rivers can provide viable solution to the multi-dimensional interrelated problems of droughts, floods, and interrupted navigation. Critically examined. Here, in that aspect, whatever the committee has recommended with respect to the status of interlinking of rivers and what are the recommendations, that could be one of the content in this particular answer. That's how maybe a question cannot come very explicitly from the entire news. Some content, but again, you have to make sure that again we need to understand that which news, which part of that particular news can be used as a point in my answer. So keep on practicing. That is something which you learn gradually once you start reading, and again start writing down the answers. The next news of the day. So Stanford scientists have created a password protected mind reading. Again, basic science and tech question topic. So again, interlinked to your paper number 3. What exactly is this? Firstly, BCI, that is brain computer integration, right? So what exactly is this? So maybe I'll tell you with a very simple example. Let's say if I want to pick up this pen from here, right? So my mind will send me a signal, and that signal will be there in my muscle memory, and again my hand automatically goes to pick up this particular pencil. That is basically your brain is sending some signal to your muscles, and again then muscle is getting reacted. In a very simple manner I'm explaining this. But what exactly is this brain computer linkage, right? So this is what they're telling, that again, instead of giving signal from my brain to my muscle and then my muscle is reacting to do something, I am my the electric signals which my brain is generating, that signal can be given to a computer and computer will be doing that task for me. As simple as that. That is a broad idea of that particular aspect, right? That has been discussed over here. So basically, brain computer interface, again, as the name itself suggests, it is a direct communication between your brain and an external device, right? And it is basically translating the neural signals, that is small electric signals which your brain sends, and that signal will be taken up by the commands in the computer, right? And again, the kind of devices, either it could be invasive, matlab something can be implanted in your brain, or it could be an external device which you can hear, maybe like an AirPod, something like that, right? So that exactly, and that technology is basically called as brain computer interface. What are its applications? Very important. So something we have seen many a time, many people have certain kind of medical history, right? So in terms of some people who are paralyzed, who cannot move their hand, who cannot speak, this could be helpful for them, wherein their brain can sense something, they can generate some signal that could be intercepted by that particular computer, and the necessary task could be done, right? Then we have in terms of mental wellness, in this fast space lifestyle what we are going through, many people at many point of their time goes through a lot of anxiety and stress which they are not acknowledging by themselves. So maybe with the help of this technology, maybe the brain can sense that stress and anxiety and generate signal, so that again people can become aware that again, yes, I'm going through stress or anxiety. That is something which could be done. In terms of gaming and industry application, if you're playing games, very good. Again, you think that again, I want to jump this soldier from that area. Even that thinking process could lead it to that particular action in that particular game without a click of mouse, or let's say your use of keyboard. Or in an industry, if you are working in as a, where again you are need to operating a machine which is picking up object from here and again shifting it to here. Even if you can think, the machine can do that task for you. That is the idea with respect to that particular aspect. Then we have in terms of cognitive enhancements. With this technology, of course, as it is integrating brain with computer, so again, it is going to enhance our memory, our learning capabilities, a lot of things in terms of cognitive enhancement. So these are the key applications of brain computer interface. Then we have what are the concerns, right? So again, if some computer is entering into my personal domain, that is my brain, right? So again, there are a lot of privacy risk associated with that particular factor. You have a mobile phone, right? So all of you are keeping your passwords. So again, so that no one can use your phone without entering a password. So with this system, if you do not have any password, anyone can enter your brain and they can access a lot of things, right? So that has been the concern which has been raised with respect to this particular technology. In terms of cyber security risk, maybe tapping your brain memory, your basic private thoughts. Then in terms of any signal which are being sent by that particular computer could be something which is potentially very dangerous, and you are not willing to do it, but again the signal is being sent to your brain through this particular technology. Then, of course, we are aware of how AI has a lot of adversarial attacks in various domains. In terms of privacy, sensitive brain data could be misused. In terms of cognitive liberty, your freedom of thought will be under threat if it is controlled by a computer. Then of course we do not know that again, if something is implanted, if some kind of device I'm using, how much it is going to take a toll on my health. So we are not aware about it. In terms of regulation and cost, of course, some technology which is very new, there is no clear rules, and again the technology is very expensive. So these are the few concerns related to brain computer interface. Then in terms of what exactly this Stanford scientists have talked about, they have told that again, we are solving one concern for you. you have a problem that again it can interfere and it can come, and again it can be a problematic for your privacy. So what they have told, that again we have created one kind of a mental password, right? What does it mean? That again, if computer is trying to enter your private space, that is your brain, you are going to give that computer a mental password while thinking, right? So that mental password is going to solve the problem of privacy infringement with respect to this particular technology, which has been developed by this Stanford scientist. As simple as that. In terms of what could be the way forward, as we are going to progress, technology is progressing. So again, we are going to, of course, look forward at again how we are going to have rules and regulation with respect to that particular technology. So again, in terms of regulation, in terms of security, in terms of neuro rights framework, in terms of its accessibility, we are going to do all of these kind of measures in terms of, let's say, neural data privacy laws, BCI specific firewalls and controls, in terms of protects mental privacy and autonomy, all of this. And again, of course, as it is very much needed for some patients who are paralyzed, who cannot talk, and again, but again, that has to be made affordable. So that has been the major way forward with respect to this particular technology. So again, technology based questions could be asked from this particular topic. So again, they can ask you, brain computer interface was sometime back in news, it is related to which technology, right? So again, options would come up. So as simple as that, these kind of questions you can expect in prelims for tech based questions which are there in the current affairs. The next topic, global plastic treaty talks has ended without a deal in Geneva. We have discussed this topic previously under the plastic pollution topic. So again, we did not had any specific law or international rule with respect to plastic pollution. We have UN climate change deal. We have, let's say, anything with respect to conservation of biodiversity. But again, we do not have any international law when we talk about, or a UN deal with respect to plastic pollution. So again, we were in Geneva, the UN conference was going on. Again, we had something that again we are going to come out this year with respect to how we are going to control plastic pollution. But again, the talk which was going over there has ended without a deal or any law with respect to curbing of plastic pollution. That is why this topic was again in news. So again, can be interlinked to GS paper number 2, again international agreements. Paper number 3, again pollution topic, environment and ecology specifically. So in terms of what is the background, so again, the United Nations Environment Assembly in 2022 has talked about that we need to have a legal binding treaty to end plastic pollution. That was something which was decided in the year 2022 in the UN Environment Assembly. So again, based on this particular agreement, we had a talk which was going on in Geneva, and but the talk has failed, and did not had any consensus. The party members over there did not come to one page with respect to how we are going to, let's say, curb plastic pollution. So some of the members were telling that again we need to, number one, stop the plastic production, that is putting caps on plastic production altogether. That is one thing. Other members were focusing more on something which has been generated. Plastic has done a tremendous amount of damage to the environment. So maybe they are talking, some people also talked, or some countries or some parties had given opinion that again, we need to focus more on something on the damage which has been done rather than capping the plastic production altogether. So based on this basic consensus failure, so there was no conclusion, and again the treaty had no result, and still we are delaying, and again we do not have any legally binding treaty with respect to plastic or plastic pollution in general. So in general, plastic, why it is important to have a global treaty. Basic facts that again it has, its production is almost 460 million metric tons per year, which is very high. We are only recycling 9% of plastic what we are generating. Then in terms of pollution, approximately 20 million tons of plastic is entering into the environment at an annual basis. And if with the current pace, we are going to triple the plastic waste by 2060. And lastly, in terms of monetary damage, what it is doing approximately $281 trillion. It has damaged in terms of economy between 2016 to 2040, what has been predicted. That makes sure, if this facts are very important to highlight. Maybe you can use in introductions of your answers or conclusions of your answers to show the why it is very urgent that again we need to have a legal binding agreement at an international level with respect to plastic pollution. Then, what kind of environmental health impact? Of course, plastic are also leading to 4% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Right. Then, in terms of course, if plastic is entering into the ecosystem, it is entering into, or it is damaging the biodiversity of that particular region, ecosystem degradation. For example, microplastics, they are entering into oceans. In the food chain, if there are fishes or some sea animals who are eating them, and then with the food chain system, it is entering into the human food chain as well, and again impacting a lot on health of humans as well. That is showcasing that why it is very urgent that we need to have a plastic legal binding agreement to curb its production and waste management altogether. Then, in what are the basic initiatives? Again, these are the initiatives at India level, what India is doing with respect to plastic pollution, and some global initiatives as well. We have what we call as solid waste management rules of 2016, which is mandating that again, it is the responsibility of manufacturer who is manufacturing that policy in order to tackle that waste which has been generated due to that plastic. Then we have plastic waste management rules of 2016, which is again trying to segregate plastics on different categories, single use plastics, multiple use plastics, in terms of how they can be recycled. And it is again talking about extended producer responsibility, which is also telling that again it is responsibility of the producer who is producing that plastic to tackle that pollution from the plastic what has been created. We have single use plastic ban, again many states have done this. Then we have mandatory jute packaging act of 2010, which is promoting eco-friendly packaging. So many times if you see in go in malls these days, many companies are trying to promote this idea of jute bag carrying, and again paper bags, reusable bags. We had the Mahakumbh event, where again we also promoted the idea of sustainable tourism, where again plastic ban was completely over there. People were using cloth bags. So that is something which has been in day-to-day governance. You can see some examples that again how government is also tackling and very sensitive towards the problem of plastic pollution. At global level, we have a lot of initiatives. Some of them are United Nations Clean Seas campaign, again, which is trying to promote plastic-free ocean. We have Basel Convention, which is basically trying to minimize the generation and risk of plastic waste. And this Basel Convention is basically controlling the cross-border plastic waste. So these are the few initiatives at India level and at global level respect to plastic pollution. Then the next topic is nationwide rollout of ethanol 20. And again, recently in April 2025, the petrol pumps in India have been giving petrol which has ethanol component of 20%, and it has raised a lot of concern among consumers that again how our vehicles are going to get impacted, its efficiency going to impacted. And that is why this news was there. And again, government has clarified that again this ethanol blended petrol is not going to harm your vehicles. So let's see what were the concerns which were raised by the people and the consumers, and how government has responded to them. So that topic again can be looked to your paper number 3, economy, environment, ecology, energy production, right? So basically E20 basically means a petrol which has 20% of ethanol. What is ethanol? Ethanol is basically a kind of an alcohol which is made from crops like sugarcane, maize, and grains. And of course, the aim is if petrol, because we see how much dependent we are on that particular on crude oil imports what we have. So if we are using 20% of mixing of ethanol which is sourced from areas like this, it is going to, of course, uh, lessen the dependence on crude oil imports on India, and a lot of multiple benefits in terms of its fiscal balance and everything like that, right? So again, it is going to reduce oil imports, pollution, and support farmers. Because how supporting farmers? Because if the government is sourcing ethanol is coming from some agricultural areas, of course, it is going to support farmers and again improve farmers' income as well. So why has the rollout been then? Again, energy security, less dependence on imported crude oil. Then we have environment, because what we have seen that again this ethanol blended petrol is going to be a more cleaner burning fuel as compared to full petrol. Then in terms of course, farmer income, it is with the demand of sugarcane and grains, it is going to increase the income of farmers. And again, we have set a target that again we are going to be blending 20% of ethanol in petrol. The target itself was of 2030, but again with the progress what we have achieved 5 years ahead of that. And again, now India is having petrol which is 20%, which has 20% of ethanol in it. So again, we have maybe achieved the target little bit ahead. That has been one major success of this particular program. Then what are the concerns? What people have told that again, in terms of the vehicles what they use, how they are going to, how that ethanol petrol is impacting them, what they have perception, they are telling that again, many a time the traditional engines and cars are not equipped and not made to be compatible with this ethanol blended petrol, and that could lead to the corrosion of rubber, plastics and metals in the older vehicles. That is one perception. Then they are also telling that again this ethanol can absorb water. So of course, in the fuel system is what is getting absorbed, it is going to be creating a problem of clogging and again pump failure in the engine altogether. This is again a perception. Then in terms of engine problem, many times the consumers are telling that again the traditional engines are not compatible with this ethanol blended petrol, and it could lead to maybe less efficient. Of course, the mileage might be less, or maybe the driving issues in terms of speed, in terms of smoothness of the running of that particular vehicle, that could get impacted. That is again a perception. Then in terms of emissions, they are telling that again, in spite, we are telling that it is going to be a cleaner fuel as compared to a full petrol. But with this ethanol, and again, there could be a possibility that it could lead another type of pollutant, let's say NOx or nitrogen oxides or aldehydes, which are incompatible, which could be, of course, generated by certain vehicles who are incompatible with this traditional, or let's say the blended ethanol. Then we have legacy vehicles again. Because the older cars and vehicles are not designed to run with this ethanol blended petrol. So these are the few concerns which has been talked about in terms of its vehicular compatibility. What government has told? Government has told that again E20 has a very higher octane rating. So again, it is of course going to be delivering better performance as compared to a full petrol fuel usage. Then, and it is also telling that again, if a vehicle is well maintained, well serviced, so there would be no chance that by using this ethanol blended petrol you are going to see some kind of efficiency issues in the running of vehicle or the mileage of that particular vehicle. They are also telling that again, many new vehicles which are of course getting produced have engines which are compatible with this E20 petrol. And lastly, even if something is happening to your vehicle, it would be covered under the insurance and warranty. The government has clarified that as well, that even if you are using that blended petrol, that does not mean that your insurance or your warranty of your car or your vehicle is going to be shattered. It will be there. And again, that has something which has been clarified with the government, with the kind of speculation or confusion which people had with respect to the usage of this ethanol blended petrol. Then basic facts, again prelims, very important, that again this ethanol blending program of the government was started in the year 2003 under the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, very important. The objective was to promote ethanol use in petrol, what they have achieved also. So they have a target that again by 2026 we are going to have 20% ethanol blending petrol. And again, this was original target was of 2030, but again we have achieved, and it is very commendable. And in terms of benefits, again, if the crude oil is getting import is getting less, it is going to help in terms of saving a lot of foreign exchange. Of course, with the cleaner idea, it is going to cut the carbon emission, and lastly it is going to be boosting the rural economy, because why? Farmers are producing the sugarcane, maize and grains which are used for production of this ethanol, right? So this is something, and again, this is where how India has been doing well in terms of its ethanol production, where again the blending has progressed well. We have achieved the target ahead of time. It has a lot of economic and environmental impact, what we have discussed, and again it is also leading to feedstock diversification, right? So all of these idea is coming around the topic that again how well this particular initiative have been of government, which is leading to a lot of benefits in terms of a lot of sectors of the economy, what we have discussed. So again, one question of prelims examination which came up in the year 2010, I'm assuming. So given below are the names of 4 energy crops. Which of them can be cultivated for ethanol? So we have seen how ethanol is getting produced from some traditional energy crops. So options are Jatropha, maize, Pongamia, sunflower. So tell me in comments what would be the answer of this particular question, right? And again, in general, a lot of questions has been asked in prelims examination around the topic of biofuels altogether, right? So that makes this topic very important for your examination. In terms of energy security in the mains examination also, we can discuss this idea again how India is indigenously developing, and again this particular program of the government is going to help in terms of energy security of the country altogether. The next topic, scientists have reconstruct 12,000 years of Atlantic meridional overturning circulation. So basic geographical topic, again interlinked to your geography and environment climate change, because this is basically talking about the idea of ocean currents, the oceanography topic of your geography. So let's discuss what exactly is this. So AMOC basically stands for Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation. So basically what happens over here, that again you understand that again how global heat balance is getting maintained through air circulation and also through water circulation. So warm water ocean currents again travel from the tropic to the upper areas of subtropics and the temperate areas, and of course the polar regions, and that is how the heat is getting circulated naturally. So again in this Atlantic Ocean also, what has been happening, the warm salty water of course is moving northwards and in the Atlantic, and it cools and it's of course becomes heavy, and this is where the sinking starts. So water is floating from the tropics to the upper tropics, and again it is also getting sinked, right? Once it gets colder, it gets sinked, and again that's how the circulation starts. So basically water is traveling like this. Once it is reaching the upper area of the in the polar regions, so again water is getting over there, it is getting cooled, then it is getting sinked, and then again that water is coming back, and that's how the global cycle of ocean getting mixed up in terms of circulation and heat balance, it is getting maintained. That is a broad idea. I'll show you through example as well. So basically this is what is happening. Again, global ocean conveyor belt, we have seen conveyor belt, that is how it functions. So why is it very important? Because again it is helping in terms of maintaining the climate and weather of a region. It is bringing warm winters to Europe, it is affecting Indian monsoon also, and rainfall in African Sahel region. It is in terms of helping in terms of heat transport, we have discussed, it is moving heat from the tropic to the poles. It is helping in terms of carbon sink, because if water is getting transported, it is getting beneath, so again it is again leading to storage of carbon in the oceans. Then in terms of marine life, again with the transportation of water happening, it is again the transportation of nutrients. It is helping in terms of feeding fish, whales, plankton, all of them. So these are the potential benefit, and that is showcasing why it is very important. So this is how it looks like. So maybe if you see, it is talking about the Atlantic region. So the Red part shows that again how warm water is moving like this from the tropics to the poles. Once it is getting high saline water, it is getting cooled here, and again it is getting sinking beneath. Once it is sinking beneath, so again now the colder water is again moving from beneath the ocean and through underwater, and again it is coming over here, and then again how the whole balance and this whole cycle is getting maintained through this particular process. As simple as that. Again, it is happening majorly in the Atlantic region. That is why we call it at this particular name. So what scientists have found that again with climate change happening, so with melting of glaciers happening across the polar region, we have seen that again how ice is getting melted in the polar regions of Arctic and Antarctic as well, right? So that they has been telling that again the natural balance is getting disturbed. So they have told that again since 12,000 years, we had a very stable system of this AMOC, but again with this human-driven climate change, there could be a weakening of this particular process. And again, once it is getting weakened, you can think of what could be the result of it, right? The heat balance is going to be disturbed, right? So why it is getting disturbed? Because as of now we are seeing that again how melting of glaciers are happening in Greenland ice and Arctic warming is happening. So more fresh water is entering into the ocean. Then fresh water is of course lighter than salty water, which is preventing the sinking in the North Atlantic, and this is slowing down the whole conveyor belt, this oscillation process, right? So that has been the major concern with respect to this particular problem. So again, it could be asked in a prelims examination form of a question. Maybe they can talk about this topic AMOC, and again they can ask you what exactly what has it is related to maybe climatology, oceanology, something like that. So potential impact that again, of course, we have seen with more global warming, less carbon is getting going to be stored in ocean, and again more CO2 in the air. So this is again going to potential impact of this in terms of extreme weather, because we have seen that again how with how this was maybe leading to warmer winters in Europe, maybe droughts in Africa could be there. Indian monsoon could get hit out of this, right? The sea level could rise, and that is happening specifically in the US East Coast region, around the Atlantic region. Then, of course, with less nutrient transported, marine life would be at risk, and again leading to the ecosystem collapse of altogether. So these are the potential damages which could be there once this natural cycle is getting disturbed due to the idea of climate change. That has been the news. Then, in terms of any question, yes, in 2021 is a question: how do the melting of the Arctic ice and glaciers of Antarctic different from has differently affected the weather patterns and human activities on Earth? Explain. You can use this as one of the component of your answer. Then we have the place in news, that is Algeria. 5.8 magnitude earthquake has hit the particular region. So again, you're going to locate in the map itself. So again, it is in the northern African region, right? So again, the bordering countries in terms of its natural climate, important places around the region. A UNESCO World Heritage Site is there. Then we have Moorish architecture, that is City of Cherries. So these are the kind of questions which could be there in a prelims examination. Even they can ask you to locate them from north to south, from east to west. The ocean, that is Mediterranean Sea is there, Atlantic Ocean is there, right? So that makes that again, whenever these kind of places comes in news, you're going to locate them in map, and again you're going to see around what all in terms of physical, in terms of basic important location, why that particular place is important. Then we are going to quickly cover the quick updates for today. The first is eJagriti platform. So what exactly is this eJagriti platform? So again, many of times you must have bought phones or any of product. Sometimes we buy products, and maybe something happens, and once we go to that particular store or that particular company in order to claim the warranty or something like that, that takes a lot of time, right? And that is where this portal has helped altogether, where again if any issue a consumer is facing in terms of any of the product, it can claim, it can issue a complaint under this particular portal. And again, the process of that consumer resolution is going to be faster as compared to the traditional model which was earlier there again, which had a lot of files and everything like that. That has been solved by this e-Jagriti portal that was launched this year in the January 2025, again under Minister of Consumer Affairs. So basically it's getting computerized everything, and again online filing of complaints, case status tracking, access to judgments, right? So this is going to create the whole consumer protection in terms of transparency, speedy resolution, dispute resolution. And why it was in news? Because 10 states plus the National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission had a dispute rate of more than 100%. It means that we are completely on track in terms of the complaints what we have received. We have 100% successfully resolved that particular issues of the consumer. The next topic is asset reconstruction companies. Very basic. You must have read that again. Many times banks give loans and it becomes non-performing asset. So tell me the time again, when does a particular loan become a non-performing asset? So again, many times bank has to do a lot of tasks. So if bank is maybe using its time and resources in recovering those bad loans or non-performing assets, so again the efficiency of bank is going to get reduced. That is why this asset restructuring company comes into picture, where again they buy this bad loans or non-performing assets from the bank itself, and again they try to get that loan back through a lot of measures. For example, like maybe they have through reconciliation, through settlement, through selling of properties, something like that. That is how, what is the task of this asset reconstruction company. So again, they are formed under Companies Act and registered with RBI under the SARFAESI Act of 2002. Very important for a prelims examination. They are of course helping in terms of resolving NPAs by bringing liquidity and clean bank balance sheets. They buy the bad loans, they restructure, they scrutinize, and they sell the assets. So this is how the faster resolution of stressed assets, and again it is supporting the fresh lending by the banks itself. Then we have off budgeting borrowing. What exactly is this? So many times, many of the borrowings of the government are not there in the budget which is being given or maybe produced in front of the people. So many times, apart from this, government borrows money through different other sources. For example, they are borrowing money through public sector enterprises or undertakings, agencies which are of course backed by government. So these borrowings does not come into the fiscal sheet of the government, and that is why they are called as off budget borrowing. So again, with this kind of borrowing, as it is not getting reflected in the traditional borrowing of the government under the budget, so it is keeping the fiscal deficit figures quite low. And what are the concerns? Because of lately we have seen that again states are easing out this OBBs amid the fiscal discipline push. So because it is hiding the true debt burden of the government, and it is reducing the transparency and accountability. So that is why it was in news. Again, they can ask you, off budget borrowing was in news. It is basically meaning what? So again, that is in some borrowing which is the government is doing through these PSUs and agencies which are backed by government, but not the traditional budget, official budget altogether. Then we have Operation Sadbhavna. It was in news. It has been in news. There was a question in prelims examination from that particular topic, where again, what has been done, that army is not only doing the task of protecting people from the enemy, foreign enemy and aliens, it is also helping in terms of development of the region where they are deployed. That is the idea of Operation Sadbhavna. Right. So initially it was started in the year 1998 by Indian Army in JNK. Right. So the idea is the aim is to win hearts and minds of people which are affected by this in that insurgency region. Again, the purpose is to extend army role in development and community welfare of the region where they are deployed altogether. Right. So the focus area is that army is helping in terms of development of education, healthcare in that region. It is helping in terms of women empowerment, sports, infrastructure. So recently, why it was in news? Why? Because Arogyan Health and Wellness Center has been developed by Indian Army in the Tawang region, that has made this Operation Sadbhavna again in news. Then sustainable aviation fuel. We know that again how, what is the meaning of sustainable? Which is of course something which is eco-friendly in nature. So what they have done, that again the fuel which are used in this airline sector, so the sustainable basically means we are producing fuel which is somewhere little bit eco-friendly. So we are using jet fuels which has some component of from renewable biomass, for example waste cooking oils, crops, residue and gases, and it is completely compatible with the conventional jet fuel, and it can be used in the existing aircraft and infrastructure. Of course, it is having an eco-friendly component. It is of course going to reduce the greenhouse gas emission. Again, reducing the coal import of India. Why? What is the basic barrier? Because the production cost is very high, and we have a very limited let's say sustainable feedstock, which is the whatever raw materials are being used for the production of this particular fuel. Do we have a very limited resources of that particular thing? That has been a major challenge, and that has led to high cost of this sustainable aviation fuel. So recently Indian Oil Panipat refinery has received International Civil Aviation Organization certification for production of sustainable aviation fuel from used cooking oil. That has been the news. Again, very important. This kind of small questions or topics could be a prelims question in examination. Then we have Mount Elbrus. It was in news. Why? Because a mountaineer from Arunachal Pradesh, or Arunachal mountaineer, has been there in that, has reached that particular mount region. So again, location-wise, it is located in the southwestern Russia, in the Caucasus Mountains. It has the highest peak of Europe and Russia, and it is basically a dormant volcano with twin summits, and that is how it is covered with a large amount of ice over there. So, and it is also a part of seven summits. Basically, what seven summits have, they are the tallest peaks of each continent. So in that continent, this is the highest peak. So with the mountaineer reaching that particular area, that has made this place again in news. That could be a question in your examination. Then we have whole cell biosensors. What are biosensors? Something biological, something bio has a bio component which can sense something, as simple as that. So initially we used some enzymes to sense something in the environment. So now what they have done, scientists have discovered and used that complete cell of E. coli bacteria, and that bacteria cell completely is being used to sense something in the environment. That is basically we call as whole cell biosensors. What are its advantages? That is, they can convert biological signals into electric signals. They can be as we are using complete cell, they can be very much self-repairing, and they are very durable even in very harsh and dirty samples. And of course, they are very cheap and faster versus enzyme-based sensors, what we had altogether. So from enzymes, we have been shifting to a full cell bacteria. So in terms of application, it can be used for pollution, environmental monitoring, agriculture, soil quality, biomedical diagnosis. So recently, E. coli engineered as a self-powered biosensor interfacing with electronics. That is why it was in news. Again, these kind of topics, what we're discussing in the places, quick updates, are very important topics for your examination. Then we have AI designed antibiotics. So many times we have seen it again, antibiotics production is a very slow process where again scientists or microbiologists are doing experiment, they are observing things, and that takes a lot of time in terms of production of antibiotics. So again, with integration of artificial intelligence in the process of making this antibiotics production, that has been leading to an efficient way, that again we have improved the pace or time in terms of how faster antibiotics can be produced more as compared to the traditional way how antibiotics were made. So again, AI is lessening the time in terms of antibiotic production. That is basically the news over here, right? So it has generated approximately 36 million of compounds virtually. basic computation were used, and again it has improved its competitiveness. Again, it is very much effective against these basic bacterias and diseases, right? And significance, it is very rapid, low cost drug discovery. Again, in terms of new hope against antibiotic resistant superbugs, because sometimes we have seen that MDR-TB, micro maybe multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. So again, we do not have any antibiotics which could run. But again, with the use of this AI, we can, in a very fast way, we can of course predict some kind of antibiotics which are multi-drug resistant also. So these are the potential benefits with respect to how AI is being used in antibiotic production. With this, we come to an end for today's News Today discussion. So all important questions which could be framed from the topics what we have discussed must be popping up in your screen. It is now your time that you have learned, you have attended a discussion. Now you're going to solve the questions. Once you solve, please post your answers in the comment section. That is, of course, going to create a competitive spirit among all the viewers who are watching this new today edition of Vision IS. Lastly, Vision IS has come up with a digital current affairs platform, which is a one-stop solution for all current affair problems. Go and explore this website. It is certainly going to help you a lot in terms of your current affairs preparation for this examination. So all the very best. Thank you so much and have a good night.